art is an asymmetrical asset class. You put in $1 million, very easily could become 10 million.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer, and excited to have Clare Baukham. Clare, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate you joining me. And I'm excited to have you on because we're going to talk about something we've never talked about on this show. And so a little bit about Clare. She's the Global Wealth Architect, Alternative Investment Curator, and founder of the Clear Art Reserve. And it's a private art investment initiative creating a unique opportunity to investors to diversify their portfolios and build wealth through culture. So that's super cool. I'm excited to dive in to talk about kind of what you're doing. Give our listeners maybe a bit more about your background, and we can kind of dive into the meat and potatoes.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Well, I've come from a very extensive background. I came from owning a flower store. I was a top floral designer downtown Toronto. I'm from the Greater Toronto area. I actually became a professional actress as well. I was doing very
Really?
well. I owned a theater company. Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
at the end of the day, honestly, my biggest obsession was money. So once I was okay with that in my mind, I decided to start to trade the stock market. So I did. I started trading options on the US markets, on the the most high beta volatile markets. Um, and I realized I had a lot of people who wanted me to trade their money for them, but this is illegal. Like you need a license
Yeah.
to do so.
Yeah.
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 So I thought, okay, let me get my hours in the business and I'll get that done. So I went from cold calling 3,500 people a week. So any of you are starting in the business and I don't want to cold call, don't worry, I did 3,500 a week. Not that that works anymore. It's actually a horrible way to build a business, I think now, but I guess it can work in some industries. But for financial, no. But I went from that to becoming a traditional financial advisor, a mutual fund advisor. And honestly, when I walked in those doors, I got my licensing, I did all of that. I thought, what am I doing here?
Hmm.
I'm supposed to go start a hedge fund. Like I'm just here to get
Mm.
my hours in the business. I was hitting the highest numbers in actually across Canada for my tenure. I was this superstar, and everyone else would feel really good about that, but I just knew there was more. So
Yeah.
actually, the top guy in the company picked me up and he said, "You know what? You're a little firecracker. I'm going to teach you everything I know," which was awesome because I made a ton of money because of that. And I made a lot of people a lot of money because of those strategies. However, I always had my eye on this one billionaire who's local here. So I actually eventually worked at his firm, and I walked in there and I said, I need to have a meeting with you just one on one. So I walked into the massive boardroom overlooking his helicopter pad, and it felt so right for me. He's a very tall man. I walked up to him and I took his big hand in mine and I shook it and I said, "So, how'd you do it?" And he says, "Okay, take a seat, kid. I'm gonna teach you everything I know." Then he did. I got hours with him, and I should have been recording it on
That's
my
amazing.
voice notes, but
Yeah, no
it's okay. I
kidding.
didn't need to because I had it all in my head. So I basically saw what he was doing, and I took his blueprint and I basically lifted it off of how he built his wealth, and I put it over art. So for me, if someone's going to become a billionaire, there is a formula to do this, and things have changed because when he became a billionaire, it was the 70s and
Yeah.
80s, right?
Yeah.
So things are different, as you know, in the markets, financial, real estate, any kind of investments, right? Bitcoin, all of these cryptocurrencies, right? So I basically took that and put it into an asset class that most of us would not have access to, nor would we have enough education on. It's one of those you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
right? So
That's where I'm at. Like, I'm like, I have no
yeah.
clue.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's it. That's how I've arrived where I am.
Man, so many questions out of this, but we're gonna try to unpack a little bit of this. So, what drew you to art I guess that's my first question. What drew you to art? Why did you think that like that would be a wise move to make?
So I was studying, I do a lot of mindset and energetics as well, money energetics, how you're thinking, how the most successful people in the world think. You know, you hear a lot of this like Elon Musk, he's all signal and no noise.
Yeah.
So I focus on not necessarily that level of person. I think there's something else going on in there to get them to that level of focus.
And it's probably not
But
really healthy, quite frankly.
agreed,
Yeah.
100% agreed. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. But so I was studying mindset with a group at a mansion in a $65 million USD mansion in Bel Air in Beverly Hills, California. And I'm in this mansion. She said to us, our coach said, take off your shoes, live in the mansion, feel the feeling of being in this place, overlooking this beautiful canyon. Like it was just to feel your bare feet walking on that like polished concrete floor, to feel yourself sitting on that Chesterfield. I was journaling there, and I was actually getting emotional because I'm like, wow, I could feel the feeling of living in this house, right?
Hmm.
So that's great. We had the day there. The chef was doing her thing. You know, we had our lunch, and kind of afternoon starts, and our coach says, okay, so go and everyone get changed. We all brought our garments. When I went upstairs, I went to the master and I started to get changed, and I came down, and there's the owner of the house. Well, I don't know about you, Todd, but I need to know the owner of 100 million, well, 100 million Canadian, right? So $100 million mansion. So I walked up to him and I said, hi, I'm Clare Baukham. Nice to meet you. And he says, yeah, no, nice to meet you as well. He was a little bit timid, but beside him was the art dealer. You know, he's in a ball cap and a hoodie. It's a Saturday afternoon, right? And he says, oh, hi. And he shakes my hand. I'm the art dealer. And I'm like, that's nice. I'm here to meet the owner.
Yeah.
So, and he said to me, you ever thought about art as an investment? Because he found out what I did. And I said,
Yeah.
I looked at him and I thought, I have actually, but it's nothing I could ever really get enough information on, because the art world is, it's, I don't want to call it a clique in a bad way, but it's closed. It's very closed. So unless you know the right people, you're not necessarily getting into it. So the more we spoke about this, the more I took that blueprint that I just talked about and I started to lay it on top, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is it.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the more numbers I look at, I can't believe it. It's on another level. And you know, like you guys, you do all kinds of investments. You guys are mainly real estate, but you know what's good and what's not, right? So a lot of times things that we invest in are symmetrical. It's great. You'll get, you put in $1 million, you probably get $1 million out. A little
Yep.
bit more risk, right?
Yep.
Art is an asymmetrical asset class. You put in $1 million, very easily could become 10 million
Hmm.
in like 3, 4, 5 years. We're not looking at, I'm
Wow.
done with this 40-year time span thing. People don't have the attention span for that anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a story that I tell that was very enticing for me. And this is like, this sticks with me and everyone knows Andy Warhol. So there's an Andy Warhol painting that was $2.5 million that Hugh Grant, the actor, bought. And I remember he was on an interview and he said, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I bought this. How could I put this kind of money into one painting? Was I crazy? However, 5 years later, that painting was worth $28 million.
Jeez.
So that is 1,040% roughly rate of return.
Bad
So
mistake,
people,
huh?
people exactly. People always say to me,
Wow.
couldn't I just buy the corner of that? Ooh, and then I could have the 1,000% rate of return. So that's exactly why I created Clear Art Reserve the way I did. So I will buy that painting, sell you a share, sell them a share, sell that guy, da, 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 da. And then we can all profit. So you don't necessarily, just because your portfolio is 10, 20 million, doesn't mean you want to put 2.5 million into a single painting, right? So
Hmm.
now you can have access, which is the key word here, access to an asset class that you would not normally have access to. However, so many people, after I talk to them, they go out and buy art. Like, great, what did you buy? Oh, I bought a print. Don't buy a print. You need to have the information. So, as you know, in the stock market world, inside information, totally illegal. However, in the art world, inside information, totally legal,
Totally legal. Yeah. Same with
totally
real
fine.
estate,
So
right?
Yeah, if I have information on exactly, if you have information on a property that Joe Schmo doesn't have, you have one up. So if
That's
I have
fine.
information
Yeah.
on an artist who's going to be picked up by one of the largest Gagosian or Pace or one of the White Cube, one of the largest galleries in the world, that's going to increase. So each piece of art and artist has like almost like a CV on them, right?
Hmm.
So they're building, it's called provenance. So they're building their own like CV for
Hmm.
themselves in their paintings. But if that painting is showing at like the Met in New York, that's going to have a greater desire for people, right? So it's just, you know what? Comparing art to stocks, it's a totally different beast. But if you don't have the information, forget it.
Wow. So I wasn't going to dive in quite yet into this, but I have to now because I
Yeah,
have so many questions. um, okay, so you are syndicating art
pretty
work.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you really, yeah, you really are. So are you okay? So when you're looking at this art and you're saying, "Hey, I like this piece or pieces," or like I want to get into your mind a little bit and how you're
Yeah.
setting this up to be profitable for your investors, right? Because that's
Yeah.
that's really what you're doing. Is that are you actually physically acquiring that piece of art?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm
and
not tokening. I don't do any of that. Yeah.
okay, so you're
Yeah.
physically acquiring this piece of art, and your investors are buying or investing into it, and so they've got
Yeah.
a piece of it, well, like you said, a
Yeah.
corner of it, right?
Yeah.
Uh, um, okay, so how are you determining? You kind of already mentioned some of it, but how are you determining what pieces to buy of art to buy? And are you is it like a focus on like the big pieces, like the ones that everybody knows about? Are you looking in and going, this is an up and coming artist? Like, I think this is going to be like, how much of that is in play, and how do you kind of balance all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. So a lot of like mid-level contemporary artists who are up and coming. So they're not at the point necessarily where they're selling for 5 or 10,000. They're more in like the 30, 40, 50, 70,000, 100,000
Okay,
area
so five,
already.
10,000 is like low end, and
It's lower. We could do it. If someone is, so again, it's that proprietary information that we have because of the team that I've developed.
sure,
So if that team member says, some of them are like market makers. I'm going to speak in that language, right? Because that's my original language is market making and stocks and options, right? So some of them are market makers and they will have an artist come in, paint with them for a month, and they'll say to me, okay, or my team, my portfolio manager, this is the one that's going to go from 5,000. He's had one that went from 5,000 who is now in like the $1.5 million range.
got it.
Imagine that rate of return,
That's a
right?
huge return. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that would take more than 3 to 5 years. It takes that provenance, that building up, right? But yeah, so that's and so there are
So
right now actually,
that's an artist starting out
yes.
and then getting notoriety. And as they build that
Yeah,
notoriety, then their paintings just continue to become more and more. Even
exactly.
the first ones that they painted, they become more and more popular.
So what's really interesting about that is, for example, I acquired some art from an artist. She was in her Brooklyn phase when she was living in Brooklyn, and now she's in New Mexico, and then she's going to be in London, and so on and so
Mm,
forth, right? So buying something from someone's phase is it's a plus. So
mm.
I was in Santa Monica at the Santa Monica airport. They had Freeze, the art fair last February. And I'm walking around, massive art fair, celebrities are walking by me and my portfolio manager's with me and he's native to there. So he's like, yeah, yeah, oh, that person's a collector. Oh yeah, that person too. And it was just a wild experience. And yeah, I said to him, what if, the Harvey Weinstein thing, the whole hashtag Me Too situation happened?
Mhm.
I said, what if that happens? He says, oh, that's great. And I said, Rip,
Hmm.
someone's having like an assault situation. He says, yeah, in the art world, it's like, oh, this is from before their assaulting era. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay, this is crazy. And then I said, what if they die? And he says, that's even better.
Wow.
Because now look at Andy Warhol. He's not making any more paintings, right?
Yeah.
So if you can get your hands on one, we're working on he's working on a Picasso right now for 85 million. Yeah, it's just so sometimes yes, we do get in, we're getting into those more and more as we get more and more funds. Now we're starting to get into institutional investors as well. So we'll get those larger checks as we go along here. So then those become a little more accessible to everyone to participate in.
Are you doing a fund or are you doing a single painting um,
Yeah,
purchase?
it's not, we're not pooling, we're not an actual fund, we're just a collection and everyone can invest in it. Yeah, everyone can participate.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Um, what's the, maybe you've already answered this, but what's like the key ingredient to, well, you talked about the billionaire blueprint, I guess. So let's dive into that. What are some of the key ingredients that this billionaire, when you said, "Hey, teach me what you what you know," like, what are some of those key ingredients that you apply now today?
Actually, interesting, because this came up the other day for me. Um, he said to me, "What quick? What's PPP?" And I was like, "I don't know." This billionaire's asking me, "I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. What is it? What is it?" Predict, plan, and persevere.
Hmm.
So you're making a prediction. So I'm looking at the global wealth atmosphere, if you will. There's a huge problem that I solve with my other. So I have the Clear Art Reserve as an access vehicle for people, but then I also have Clear Wealth Group. So with Clear Wealth Group, I used to be a full advisor, as I mentioned, but I deal a lot with how people's money and finances are structured. So I have some clients just because they're making $10 million a year, it doesn't mean A, they feel good about it, or B, they know what to do. They may have advisors, but advisors sometimes they're like, I don't know,
Yeah.
put a little here, put a
Yeah.
little. No, 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 no. How are we building a dynasty for this family? We have the option to, right? So predict, PPP, predict what what is the landscape looking like, so I can foresee the issues in the world. I've been doing this for so long, and you can see people's mindset issues around buying real estate. Maybe they hesitate, why they hesitate, and so on. So there's a prediction for art. For me, I can see where this is going. I see things are going more and more online. Whichever way the pack is going, I'm going the other way.
Hmm.
I see all these AI posts. No, I'm out. I know we'll use it for certain things like helping us to write articles and things, like no problem.
Sure.
Other than that, it's the world will exhaust from that very
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So people are using all
Isn't it
this AI.
obnoxious when you're on LinkedIn? I don't know if you spend time on LinkedIn or whatever social media platform, but it's like you just see that comment, you're like, oh my gosh, just another AI response back.
Yep. Yep. I
Uh,
can't stand it.
yeah.
Nobody can. It's
I make
fake.
I make fun of one of my friends real quick that he was using an AI agent and I posted something about we removed this pool and we're turning it into a pickleball court. Super excited to see the progress. And the AI response back was, "Oh, I love what you did with the pool. I can't wait to go swimming." And I'm like,
Yep.
"What?"
You
Like,
know what?
come
But
on.
even when AI is on point, and they're even eventually when they become on point and they're doing well for us, people are losing themselves in what their purpose is. We
Mm,
are husbands and wives and we are parents, and your mind goes into all these things, but we all get to a point in our life where we're like, what am I doing here?
yeah.
Is what I'm doing great? Cool. You made a lot of money. That's awesome. I have tons and tons of clients who make tons of money. Some of them have $1 million sitting in a savings account. They freeze because they're like, what am I doing with my life here?
Mm,
Right. So that's my prediction. Plan. This very well. How do you plan for this? What is the plan going forward? For example, I create Clear Art Reserve. Great. Let's make the plan to create this company. Persevere. How many things have people tried? And you see it on social media. Now it's that instant
yeah.
gratification, right?
Yeah.
They try it, they quit. They try it, they quit. You got to persevere. As you know, if you watch any of these guys talk online, these very successful people, they persevered. You guys persevered with your business. You didn't just stop. Someone said no. Oh, when? Let me stop. No way. You keep going. right? So that is the biggest thing I took from him. I think as well, to be honest, the aura of how he acted. So I got to have a little texting with him once in a while as well. The things that just don't phase him. We are so distracted these days by everything. There's squirrel, squirrel, squirrel everywhere, right? So
100%.
just his focus was such a beautiful thing.
That's amazing. Do you still stay in touch with that person?
Once in a while, yeah.
Yeah,
And him
that's
and
amazing.
my mentors down in the Caribbean. Why aren't you down here with me? I'm trying to close up my year, because we live in Mexico all winter. We have a
Oh,
place
you
in
do?
Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, so
Oh,
we'll work
that's
from
amazing.
there all winter. So,
Yeah.
and we homeschool. I have a 6-year-old, but we homeschool him. So
So you live in Toronto when it's nice and then get out of
yeah, I
there
have a
and go to
place up in
Mexico.
Muskoka, so we spend a lot of the time up there. The
Okay.
fall is beautiful up here too, right? So you don't want to miss those
Yeah, for
colors,
sure.
but
For sure.
I don't. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done here.
I'm in Minnesota, so I get a lot of the
Oh,
same
you
type of,
understand. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you gotta, I guess the first thing that comes up into my mind when you talk about investing in art is I think risk. I think because I don't know it. I'm naive about it. So forgive me
Yeah.
for that. But
Yeah.
I'm super naive. And I think most of my listeners are probably very naive about it. And if you're
Yeah.
listening, you're like, what are you talking about? I know everything about it. Okay, sorry. But I
Yeah.
think most people listening to this have no clue. And so when you don't know about something, you just assume it's probably risky. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, why isn't everybody doing this?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you talk about risk associated with, because certainly there is some, but how do you talk about the risk associated with investing in art and get around that subject?
Yeah. So this is a beautiful question. Art has beat the S&P 500 over the last 25 to 30 years. So the S&P average was, I think, 9.4, 9 point
Yeah, right around there.
something.
Yep.
Yeah. And art was
Hmm.
14.3% return year after year, every year.
Wow.
So these are questions that I asked as well. So I'm brutal. I'm self-proclaimed. Just I will put things to the test. I will not put my money in anything unless I know there's a return, because why? What am I doing? Right? It was like GICs, right? People think, oh, they're guaranteed. But with GICs, you're guaranteed to lose. You guys have GICs, guaranteed income certificate, basically, where you put it in for 3 years, they're going to give you 9%, but you
Sure.
think it's 9% per annum, but it's 9% spread. So you're making
Yep.
3%. Exactly.
Yep.
So, I really put this to the test. I had many, many conversations with many people, actually, going back to the beginning when I said that well, actually, I think I said this to you off camera, that the billionaire was collecting art. And I didn't put two and two together until recently, actually. And I thought, oh my goodness. And there it is, hanging in the office everywhere. Massive, massive pieces. Like this piece behind me is big, way bigger, way
Hmm.
bigger. So I was like, oh my goodness. This is where, when, you guys have your president there. However, I don't, it's for me, I'm neutral. I don't care. It's as long as the markets and everything do what I need them to do. It doesn't matter to me. But if someone sniffs the wrong way in your parliament, in your government, then markets will either go up or down, right? So uh, we noticed that markets they've gone up quite a bit. Our portfolios have done amazing, but when markets start to drop, people start to take money out, right?
Yep.
Most people will put it in cash, but the affluent, the 1%, puts it into art.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
when I started
That
to
makes
see
sense.
those trends, yeah, not even real estate, because as you know, I don't know about you if you know, but the Canadian real estate market is down quite heavily.
Yeah.
So,
I don't pay a lot of attention, but yes, I
no,
know that.
yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are down a little bit, but not like we are.
Yeah.
Not like we
Right.
are. But there's a lot going on with our government as well. So, but that's for another day. Um, that's a whole other thing. Um, yeah, so is it risky? To be honest, it's riskier to put money into the stock market.
So let's say this because there's different types of risks, right? And when you talk about the returns, certainly the returns look good. But if I'm going
Yeah.
to invest in, let's call it 25 or pick a number, whatever. If I'm going to invest in
Yeah.
25, 50, 100 art pieces, uh,
Yeah.
how how many, and I know you can't give me an exact number, but how many of those are going to end up either zero or negative versus how many of those would end up on the positive side? Maybe hitting, because certainly some of them are going to hit that 500% or
Yeah.
200% or whatever it
Yeah.
might be. But
Yeah.
then
And it's hard to tell how
it's
much,
hard to
but
tell. So how many of
yeah,
those do you think could end up negative versus the positive ones?
you're not going to like my answer.
Yeah, I know. I know. You can't tell me exactly, but go ahead, answer
No,
it.
no, I've got an answer.
Okay.
Zero.
You really,
Zero will end up.
you
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
think so?
So yeah, no,
Okay.
I know.
Wow.
It's with art, which again, crazy for me being a stock market and stockbroker, right? Options trader. My goodness, how could this thing not lose money? Once you obtain a piece for a certain price, it will not go below that price, no
Hmm.
matter what. Yeah, it just retains it. So very nice, great for me, great for my people who are investing, but not sexy. How can I get them to make money? Right? I'm trying to give access to people who wouldn't otherwise have access.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great if it retains its value. However, I need it to go up.
Well, nobody's
So
excited about that, but nobody is where you get really mad is when things actually lose money, right?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So this isn't like I did a lot of private equity. We were actually my husband and I were part of a unicorn company at one point as well. We helped them become unicorn status, which was really, really interesting. However, you're relying on private equities. It's a whole other thing, as you probably know. It's that you can go in and you can have shares. We had our shares valued at I think like 435 million at one point. Great, just our shares, right? But then it wasn't worth that anymore,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
with art, I wanted something a little more stable, a little more safe. Um, here's the thing as well is because of that information that we have access to. For example, my portfolio manager will call me and say, hey, listen, he's in LA, like he's got a very affluent community around him, and he'll call me and say, I have a guy, he's getting a divorce, he needs some cash, he's got this piece, it's worth 80,000, I can get it for 50.
Hmm.
So
Sure.
immediately I
Yeah.
have that rate of return under my belt,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So we operate very often like that. We get a lot of deals, or we get a lot of deals from galleries as well. Um, a lot of this is awful. I hate to say this because I'm not, we don't like to bank on people being ill, but we'll have a situation where we know an artist is going bigger and bigger. And the artist ends up in the hospital, which of course causes a frenzy for their pieces, right? Because what if something
People are
happens to them,
nervous.
then they're not
Yep.
making any money, right?
Yep.
So is that kind of answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there, but it's just a fact of the market, and you have to understand what happens in the market. If somebody gets
Yeah.
ill, well, and same thing if the person that's holding the piece of art, um, you know, gets ill or some gets a divorce or something happens,
Yeah.
and now that $80,000 piece of art is they'll take 50. I mean, it's just part of the
Yeah.
market, and you
Yeah.
you need to be aware of it. And by the way, it's the same thing in real estate. And I can remember one of my favorite memories when I was buying, I used to buy a lot of single family homes, is one of my favorite memories is I had this lady that came to the closing table. I bought her property. It was a short sale. And, she came in just tears and she's thanking me and hugging me and just crying. She's so happy. I saved like her life. Like it was
Yeah.
just like, and I'm like, you go into it and you're thinking, I'm taking advantage of this person. I feel so bad. Like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
person has this property and I'm buying it for way less. But she was so thankful and grateful. So
Got to get out.
it's just it's part of the business. And, you're also helping somebody else. I love alternative assets that are different from what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Um, because you just swim where everybody swims, you're going to get what everybody gets, right? It's the same
Exactly.
thing. And
Exactly.
and being in this. So when in this industry, are you seeing more art buyers like you or more art buyers that are just collectors and it's going into their house?
There are a ton of collectors. And there are a ton of collectors who are buying. I don't know if you saw the banana with the duct tape. I forget what that went for.
No.
It was ridiculous. I'd have to look it up. So I don't even want to say a number, but it was
I do see
ridiculous.
some of that every once in a while. I'm
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
is that?
So
How to get, what was the popular thing? It's not, I wouldn't even call it art. It was like digital art
oh,
garbage.
NFTs, yeah.
NFTs and some guy bots. I was just like,
I
what are you
can't
doing?
yeah. Somebody asked me that, are we gonna digitize this? I said, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, you're
I'm
not
going,
doing that, right?
no, 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 I can't get into that.
You're true traditional, like this is the
Yes,
actual piece the artist made,
exactly.
and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
on some
I
computer
can't.
screen. Yeah,
Oh,
good.
no, 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 no.
I could
And
not
Bank
get
is
into that either.
the one that got shredded right after the person bought it at auction, and then it was worth like 55 million, right?
Oh
So
my gosh.
the art market, the art world is fascinating.
Hmm.
Even more than fashion. I know fashion, Hermes bags, like the Birkins, they'll be held back in the store because anyway, there's that's a whole other competitive game. Art is extremely competitive. I am not seeing anyone doing what we're doing. I'm seeing more collectors. My portfolio manager has been doing this for close to 20 years. And,
Hmm.
it depends. If right now people are a little bit tighter with their money, it's around the holidays, but then at the same time, there he is working on an $85 million piece, right? So it's not really a feast or famine. It changes every day, but not into feast and famine. I think more people are with the access to online, more people are buying. So
Hmm.
we just had Art Basel in Miami, and we didn't end up going. We had too many other things going on, but they're packed. They're loaded with people who want to be part of the scene and want to get into the investment of it, right? So
Yeah.
um, even like Swiss Beats and Rihanna. No, sorry. Oh, and Alicia Keys. Sorry, Rihanna. Um, they bought a piece from an artist called Kato, and they had it commissioned, and they put it into. They have this. I think it's in just south of LA there on they call it the Razor House or something. It's this long overlooking the ocean, this long, beautiful mansion on the cliff. They had this massive long piece commissioned by Cato. Cato's black artist, they wanted to support. So see, there you go. We picked up a Cato piece because of that.
Hmm.
Because we know
Because you
that someone
know,
like that, yes,
yeah.
exactly.
So because of that kind of notoriety of these people, the people that bought it,
Yeah,
that interesting.
yeah,
So
exactly.
fascinating. What do you see? What do you see as the future? I mean, we've mentioned the NFTs, and there's obviously digital art. There's AI. There's all kinds of quote unquote disruptions. What do you see the future of the kind of art industry and in investments?
I think that more and more people are looking for something different, like you said. I think that as we become more digitized and we're all stuck on our phones, I think that more people are going to be looking for tangible assets,
Hmm.
something different, something real estate. Real estate, I think, is huge. Actually, I have a very interesting theory that I have a Chinese doctor, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. We actually just came out of, they have like 20-year time frames. We just came out of the year of Earth, which is very heavy in real estate. So we noticed we ended it last year. So last year we began fire. Fires for the next 20 years. It's going to be agriculture and technology. So technology is going to boom, right? Then we go into water, and that which is water is like a lot of trade back and forth, imports, export, and then we'll go back into real estate. So if somebody's looking to build a dynasty today, dynasty is the business and the assets, right? They're looking to build a dynasty today, getting into someone like working with someone like you guys who are buying those real estate assets now, those in for their grandchildren, they're going to be massive.
Yeah.
So for you guys, it's a little more buy and hold. Art
Yeah.
is a buy and hold, but we try to we do a turnaround sometimes on it, 3 to 5 years kind
3 to 5
of
years.
thing. So, but I think that art is part of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people are going to crave something real. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not enough. Everyone's look at us doing this. Well, I used to have to fly down to you to
yeah.
do these,
Yeah.
especially in the financial industry before COVID.
For sure.
A
Yeah.
video call, forget it.
Right.
It was unheard of, right? And now look at us. That's all we do. I barely leave my home office, which is brilliant, or my cottage office, right?
Yeah.
Hence why I can live in Mexico and work from there, right? All winter. So I think you're absolutely right. People more and more are craving real.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, Claire, this has been a lot of fun, and it's fascinating. You went from a former financial advisor, doing the traditional. I don't feel like I see this that very often. I feel like the people who become financial advisors, all they know is stocks, bonds, and mutual funds.
That's all they
and
know.
and that's all they focus on, and they don't see anything outside of that. And when you talk to them about something outside of that, it's just like goes right over their head.
Totally. Yep.
Not saying everybody. I'm sure I got some financial
For
advisors that are
sure.
listening that are
Yeah.
super smart, but it's fascinating to talk to somebody who was in that industry that totally. I mean, you're doing something very different, very
Yeah.
non-traditional. Um,
You know
and
why it's like, you know why it's like that though.
I mean, I, educate me. Yeah, I mean I mean, would guess it's because that's all they're trained in, and that's all they can make commission in.
Trained in. And then exactly the AUM, if the assets under management leave you, I know this is how I was trained. If the assets under management leave me, then I'm not getting paid on them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I want my client to send you guys $1 million for real estate when I'm not going to get paid on the $1 million anymore? Right. But it's wrong. It's the wrong way
Yeah.
because that's not the way real wealth is built. You're not going to save your way to wealth. You're just not mates. I've had some people who saved their way into a couple $1 million.
Yeah. Certainly.
Great. We could have gone way bigger if we had access. I
Yep.
keep saying this word access to more, right? You got to diversify. This is the thing too, is then those markets crash and you're having a heart attack. Even though for me as an advisor, totally embrace the market. I love the market crash actually, because that's where we perform our best, right?
It resets and cleanses the market too.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's opportunity time,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to buy gas when it's at $5 or $1? Like, hello, right?
Yep.
So I honestly, I was in that industry from day one, sitting there still with paper applications at my old firm. And I'm sitting there filling all these, and all these other rookies come up to me, and even seasoned advisors, and they, oh, apps, huh? Well, how much are you bringing? I said, I don't know, 2.4 million, one of my first sales. And they couldn't believe, in Canada, this is unheard of. A rookie would write like a $500,000 in a year. I don't know what I wrote, 3, 4 million kind of thing,
Hmm.
right? So I didn't fit in. I felt like a caged animal from the start. It didn't feel right for me. So I have all these people who are great. I think having an advisor and having a portfolio, it's part of your beta.
Yeah.
You need that constant rate of return, 8 to 10, 12, 17, whatever your percent is. Cool. Great. However, what are we doing about alpha?
Yeah.
Where is that big spurt that we need to grow the entire portfolio? We need those alternatives. We need something outside of the norm. Otherwise, we're not getting ahead,
Yep.
in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Obviously I'm in an alternative too, but I couldn't agree more. I mean, to me, it's fascinating how, um, the financial advisor community talks so much about diversity, diversity, diversity. However, it's not diversity, right?
No.
It's the same thing. Like we're putting you in the same exact thing as everybody else. There's no diversity.
Yep.
I shouldn't say no diversity, but it's not diversity. We're
No.
not getting into art. We're not getting into real estate. We're not getting into oil and gas, true oil and gas, right? We're not
Exactly.
getting into those types of things. So
No.
Well, Claire, this has been great. Any last words you want to leave our listeners before we wrap up?
I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this one
Okay,
for
let's
your
do it.
listeners. So here's the thing. Your listeners probably range from aspiring to ultra high net worth, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what level you're at, even if you're at that ultra high net worth level, no matter what decisions you make, I think you have to ask yourself, how would I love my life to be? Am I happy? Is this what I want? So when I'm looking at people, getting them into art, for example, and they can't really wrap their head around it, it's not traditional. We have to think about, what type of person do I need to become in order to think like the ultra high net worth? And for the ultra high net worth, how do they get, there's that gap still there that they can go higher. I guarantee it. Right. So my message for your listeners is, what is the vision for your life? And if you feel like you have everything, let's start to go back to purpose. Right. So I do a little bit of both, right? We talk about those energetics and the mindset, and then, we get into alternative investments. So, how are we building your dynasty and your legacy? Because at the end of it, we leave, Todd, and that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
You leave this world. What are you leaving with? Nothing. Not even your body. You're leaving that here too, right?
Yep.
No matter what your belief is, you're done.
Yep.
So how can we leave selflessly? How can we leave the next generations with that, like, legacy? I don't want to name any names, but that type of legacy that we read about in those books. So no matter where you are, you're
Beautiful.
from aspiring all the way up to that ultra high net worth. Everyone's building for their lifetime. Don't forget about the next generations.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love that.
Yeah.
All right. I got a couple last quick questions before we wrap up. What's a favorite book you can recommend to our listeners?
Hands down, I have two. Robert Greene, The Art of Seduction. Robert will change you when you read his books. And then my all-time favorite. Oh, I have a third. My all-time favorite is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. For sales, for interacting. It's just, it's on another level. And if you want to get more into that mindset, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. You asked for one, I gave you three. See? Rate of return.
Right. All right. Well, this one you got to stick to three. So last question is, what are your three pillars of wealth creation?
My three pillars of wealth creation are vision for your life, standards, and belief system.
Love it.
That's it. Everything else falls in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Claire, how can our listeners get in touch with you? Learn more about what you got going on?
Yeah. Check me out on Instagram at Clare Baukham. No I, it's CLARE. Or on my website, clearwealthgroup.com or clearartreserve.com.
Good stuff. Listeners, reach out and learn more and take something of value from this episode. There's been a lot of good stuff here. Man, I mean, I have yet to actually meet a billionaire. I want to meet a billionaire one day. I've yet to
really. Well, listen, I'm a future billionaire right here. So
I'm sure
I'm
sure I've met a lot of future billionaires. I want to meet a billionaire one day. But that's great.
I have a few in my Rolodex
too. Well, cool. Claire, again, really appreciate you, and you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So The other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.